Charlize Theron. We all know the name. Oscar winner, action hero, fashion icon. But to really understand the power you see on screen, you have to know the story of the survivor who built it all. So, let's get into it. I mean, think about the image we all have in our heads. On screen, she's Imperator Furiosa, this absolute warrior. On the red carpet, she's the face of Dior, just total elegance. That's the Charlize Theron we know. Powerful, polished, almost perfect. But that image is built on a foundation that is anything but. Because behind that icon is a survivor. And to get a sense of her strength, you have to understand the world she came from. A world where, in her own words, things like verbal abuse and threats just became normal. So, our story doesn't start in Hollywood. It starts on a farm in South Africa, where a deeply traumatic childhood forged the resilience that would end up defining her entire life. She's been very open about it. Her home life was completely dominated by her father's alcoholism. It wasn't just the drinking itself, it was the whole toxic atmosphere it created. Imagine this constant cycle of loud, messy fights and abuse, and then these long stretches of just tense, awful silence. It was a pressure cooker. Well, one night in 1991, that pressure cooker exploded. During a violent attack from her drunken husband, Charlize's mother, Gerda, shot and killed him in an act of self-defense. Charlize was just 15, and that single awful event would change the course of her life forever. Just a year after that, at 16, she was gone. She left South Africa, and look at the drive in this quote. This wasn't some kid chasing fame. This was someone escaping a nightmare. She had to make it on her own because failing meant going back, and going back to that pain was just not an option. And you know, that fierce need to forge her own path didn't just get her out of the country, it completely defined her whole approach to acting. So, early in her career, she was told to try method acting, where you live and breathe a character's darkness 24/7. But for somebody who'd already experienced so much real trauma, intentionally living in that kind of negative space was just, well, she said it herself, it was miserable. It was never gonna work for her. So she made a very conscious choice. You can see the difference here. She rejected that all-consuming method approach. Instead, she developed her own process. Be disciplined. Go to those dark places when the camera's rolling, give it everything you've got, and then leave it behind. It's a survival technique, really. And it proves you don't have to destroy yourself to give an Oscar-worthy performance. And it's that disciplined approach that allowed her to tackle some of the most transformative and demanding roles we've seen in modern film, turning her into a true icon. Let's talk about the 2003 film Monster. It was a seismic event in her career. This wasn't just acting, it was a full-on physical and psychological transformation into the serial killer Aileen Wuornos. She gained 30 pounds, wore prosthetic teeth, caked on makeup. She completely disappeared. She was unrecognizable. The critics were just blown away. I mean, comparing her to Robert De Niro in Raging Bull, that's not just hype. That's putting her in the pantheon of all-time great performances. By completely erasing her own famous beauty, she forced everyone to see nothing but her raw, undeniable talent. And yeah, she took home the Oscar for it. Then, over a decade later, she did it again. But this time, she completely redefined what a female action hero could be. In Mad Max Fury Road, Imperator Furiosa wasn't a sidekick. She wasn't the love interest. She was the film's ferocious, beating heart. The shaved head, the prosthetic arm, those eyes. She created an instant icon of pure strength. And this is where her life and her art just click into place. She understood Furiosa on a primal level. As she says here, Furiosa wasn't just some action figure. She was a survivor of tremendous abuse. Theron's own history gave her a direct channel into that character's pain, her resilience, and her absolute need for redemption. But Charlize Theron was never going to be content just being the star. She wanted to be the one telling the stories. She wanted control of the narrative. So she became a powerhouse behind the scenes too. She founded her production company, Denver and Delilah, way back in 2003, the very same year she won the Oscar for Monster. Think about that foresight. This was a power move, a way to take control, find her own material, and basically shape her own destiny in an industry that doesn't always let you do that. And, I mean, the results really speak for themselves. Her company was behind Monster, the film that won her the Oscar. They've produced everything from dark comedies like Young Adult to huge action movies like Atomic Blonde. You see the pattern here? She's creating complicated, compelling, and often female-led stories. And that brings us to the final, and maybe the most crucial piece of her story. This is the part where her journey comes full circle, taking her right back to where it all started: Southern Africa. She founded the Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project, or CTAOP. It's a foundation that's all about investing in the health, education, and safety of young people in her home region. After growing up in an environment of violence and instability, you can tell this mission is deeply, deeply personal. And the need for this work is so urgent. Just look at these numbers from a CTAOP report. 42% of women facing violence, only 37% of young people with basic HIV knowledge, and just 5% of schools providing comprehensive sex ed. These are literally life or death challenges that her organization is tackling head on. So the whole project is about empowering the next generation to break the very cycles of violence and poor health that she witnessed firsthand. It's about giving them the tools to build a different kind of future. It's about inspiring action right there on the ground to create real change. So, what's next? If you think for a second she's slowing down, you haven't been paying attention. Charlize Theron is still one of the most active and powerful forces in the entire industry. This is just a little glimpse of what's on her plate. She's starring, she's producing, she is steering these huge projects from start to finish. From thrillers to fantasy action, she is absolutely an enduring force in Hollywood. Which really leaves us with this one last thought. The next time you watch her on screen, playing these characters defined by their pain, their strength, their survival, how does knowing her own story change what you see? It really suggests that her greatest performances aren't just acting, they're a testament, a reflection of a life that wasn't just lived, but overcome.